Hello, this is Simon Jackson from the FastTrack COVID-19 response working from home. And today we're joined by Jeff Alexander once again. And Jeff's going to go through a demo on Windows Virtual Desktop. And Jeff, it's an important topic and I'm really impressed by what I've seen, but why is WVD such an important topic right now?
Well, thanks, Simon. Hope you're doing well, mate. Yeah, look, it's important as a lot of organizations are sending more and more users home to work in their homes. They want secure solutions for them to allow their users to be productive and to be productive on a work desktop. Now, in a lot of cases, a lot of organizations might not have the hardware or the device or whatever to supply to their users quickly enough during this time. So what they can do with Windows Virtual Desktop, which I'll talk through what it is in a few slides to tell you what it's all about, is they could, an example would be that, if a user's got their own machine at home or they've got a mobile phone or something like that, the IT department can actually publish a virtual desktop to them just through a URL. The user just has to go to any HTML5 browser. They can go from a Macintosh device, they can go from a Windows device, they can go from any device. We'll have Linux coming out fairly soon. And they just type in that URL, and based on their identity, they will be presented with a number of resources that are available to them. And that'll become a little bit more clear when we go through a couple of the demos. But essentially what it means is that IT can secure that resource that they're providing, and the user can continue to use their PC at home as their own PC. But if they need to do work, they just go to this URL, and we publish a virtual machine to them that they can get all their email, or they can get their applications. And I'll show you the different options that they have. But it's a quick way for them, and it's all run out of Azure. And a key point is also that it actually is available here in the Australian data centers, so in our ANZ region.
Good. Yeah.
We do have the service here available in this region, so that's a really important thing for customers as well. So, but we'll go through a few slides so that you can kind of see what it looks like. So a quick demo. All right, so this is just a little bit of a quick update on what Windows Virtual Desktop is. If you want to learn more about how to deploy it or how to more about it, you can go to aka.ms/WVD, and that will take you through to the documentation that you need to find for this. Fairly straightforward, but I mean, we really need to talk about what we're actually trying to solve. And we do have a number of different virtualization scenarios, what this solution is trying to solve. Obviously, there is the very, very unique case that we all find ourselves in now. But when we first came out with the product, we were looking at different types of, not only different types of industries, but also different types of workforces, right? So if you look at, I guess what really maps to what we're talking about today is BYOD. A user might have their own PC at home. They don't necessarily want to join that PC and have it managed by their internal IT department. So what they can do is they can, like I said, give them a URL and have that application or the applications or full desktop delivered to that user, or a specific app. If it's just a line of business app that they need at home to get access, IT can deliver that to them as well. So this is just kind of mapping what we're targeting the product at. What it actually is, though, is that it's obviously it's generally available worldwide. And there's two things that I want to point out on this slide, is that it is the only multi-session version of Windows that runs in the cloud today. Okay, and this is a version of Windows 10 that supports multiple sessions on a single image. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like in the UI itself. The key thing here is that we acquired a company, and I'll talk a little bit about this later on. We acquired a company called FSLogics a couple of years ago. And FSLogics is what's enabling us to do optimizations for Office 365 Pro Plus. And we couldn't do this particular scenario if we didn't have a good experience for the user, right? So what we're trying to do is make sure that the user is going to have the exact same experience running Office that they would have on a device that they carry around with them. That's a key thing. That'll come to the fore later when we do a little bit of a demo to show you what I mean by that. But essentially, those optimizations mean that Office 365 Pro Plus is a local-like experience, right? So that you'll see what I mean by that. You can, customers, obviously VDI, which it's commonly known as the virtual desktop infrastructure, has been around for a number of years, through what Microsoft has been doing with our RDS.
Yeah.
With
RDS, that's right. I remember that was one of the first
remember
ones
the old
out,
RDS?
wasn't it?
Yeah,
loved
Microsoft,
that.
or do you remember Terminal Server? Big old terminal server that was around in the 90s.
Actually. Shouldn't
Showing
say
our age.
that, but yes, I do. Yes.
And the work that Citrix been doing over the years, obviously, right? And the idea is that you deploy this either through PowerShell or through the marketplace within Azure or the Azure portal itself. And then what you end up getting that is you get the ability to provide users with a multi-session version of Windows. That means we can have multiple users on a single VM image, and they're not impacting each other. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. We provide users with that only, and obviously you scale it up depending upon how many users you're going to have on that. And we do that automatic scaling for you. In the portal, when you're setting this up, you basically go through and look at, well, what type of workload am I talking about? Is it a lightweight office worker? Is it a heavy workload? And we will recommend to you the scale of the machines that you actually need to build to run this whole infrastructure. Now, it allows you to do Windows Store remoting and legacy applications. So Win32 legacy MSI applications can be remoted. And as you sign up for WVD, you get a Windows 7 extended security updates. Now, of course, we know, being in the FastTrack team, we want our customers to move to Windows 10. That's a priority. We make sure that they move to Windows 10. But if they do have an application or they do have some reason that they can't get off Windows 7, this will give them option to run this in the cloud, get those extended security updates, and continue to move forward with their cloud strategy, right? And the idea is that we want to give them options. We want to give them options about where they're, how they move forward. We don't want them to kind of go, oh, well, I can't do that, so I'm going to stop. We want them to continue on their cloud journey, right? But we want them to be able to deploy, continuously and do it in a secure way. Now, on the obviously Office 365 is a very big part of our deployment that customers are actually doing. And the idea here, and diving a little bit more into what we actually acquired, we acquired the company called FSLogics, and essentially what FSLogics does is it does a few things. It does profile containers. It does application containers for Office 365. So essentially what the application containers for Office 365, it allows Office to be a lot more performant within a multi-user virtual environment. And what that means is that we're able to cache the Outlook OST file. We're able to cache OneDrive. We're able to support all of OneDrive's capability, like files on demand and all this kind of thing. And more importantly, a user can go and search in the GAL, right? Now, if you're in a virtual environment, that wouldn't perform very, very, very well at all. So the FSLogics profile container basically gives the ability to run Outlook in cache mode. This dramatically speeds up logon and application launch times, and it's optimized for those virtual environments. And essentially what we do and what we do for VMs at runtime is we mount a virtual machine through a high performance file share, a virtual hard disk, right, for all that files. So this is all kind of built at the back end, but it's totally seamless to the user, which makes it really, really good experience. And you'll see what I mean in a minute.
Turn it on and go. Wow.
Yeah,
because
so
that was always a big restriction of virtual desktop was caching. It was the first thing we'd ask when someone said we had a VDI environment was, well, okay, how are you going to handle caching? But you're saying that's
you were always kind of giving up something. You were, because you were, and the other thing is that, you were running a server operating system that was skinned to look like a client operating system. Desktop. So at the end of the day, here we're talking about Windows Server RDS. You were essentially running on Windows Server RDS, which really was a server operating system. And we tried to skin that for you to make it look like a client operating system, but there were limitations of what you could do. MultiSession kind of solves a lot of those issues that you would have had previously. But we do know that customers do have existing RDS environments. So you can actually migrate your RDS environments to Windows Virtual Desktop. And you'll get app compatibility. You can bring your own images. You can use the images that are in the gallery, or you can use your own images if a customer already has their own, right?
Wow.
And then, customers always ask us, and this is the first thing, and I was on one of the early internal betas of this and got trained on Windows Virtual Desktop, and I was running it when it wasn't actually available in the Australian data centers. But this is now available. Customers can choose where they deploy it. This number has probably changed as far as the number of data centers that we have. That always changes every time I put the slide up. But we just have a ton of data centers. That's all we really say, is that we have a ton of data centers. You can put it in your location. We've got a lot of partner ecosystem. I'll talk about the partners that we have in this space, because it's not just about our platform, but we have a number of partners that we're with as well. And so what we do in regards, obviously it's very quick to deploy. Some of the additional benefits that you get, it's a VDI service that runs on Azure. Customers pay for what they use, right? And a lot of customers are already licensed through the normal licensing channels that we have. Windows E3, E5, all the standard licensing. Most of our customers are probably going to already own it anyway.
So
right?
they've already got it.
They've already got it. So it allows you to just, and the great thing is it allows you to virtualize full desktops, but individual apps. And those applications integrate into the host machine's UI. So I can go and I'll have an icon on my desktop for Word, but it'll have a different little icon on it. It'll have two little arrows that go towards each other. You'll know what I mean when you see it. And integrated with our security and management. It's integrated with our WAS service, our patching strategy, because after all, it's Windows 10, right? So it's Windows 10 and it's Office Pro Plus. So it's all integrated into everything in regards to that. What I'm going to show you is I'm running this from West US at the moment. Now I'll let you in on a little secret, Simon. I was going to do this at the end, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Where do you think this PowerPoint slide is actually being run from?
PowerPoint would be SharePoint, so Australia?
No. This is running as a virtual app running out of the West US data centers. So when I actually spun, this is PowerPoint running as a virtual app that's not running locally on my machine. And I wanted to sneak this in on you so you didn't actually know where it was coming from. Now, are you noticing
that secret?
Are you noticing anything different? Not at all.
Nope.
It looks exactly integrated into my workflows and all this kind of thing, right? So, there's, if you look at this, what we're trying to do is we're blending this all in with everything that we deliver anyway, right? So if you look at this, we're blending it into Microsoft 365 and all the security capabilities that we have. It supports role-based access control, but we're adding some things, things that you need to actually think about. It's linked with our conditional access and multi-factor authentication. You're going to see that when I go into my VM. That it's going to ask me to do Windows Hello going into that VM. So it's all tightly integrated into everything that we do. And, of course, Azure, this is what we're saying from a numbers perspective. We've got a lot of signals. So, you're not deploying a solution that's kind of separate, right? It's all integrated. Now, and this is basically what how it kind of breaks down into this is a very high level architecture, Simon. This is not anything of, we've got a lot of more detailed documentation out there, but this is just really giving you what we manage, what the customer manages, and what's managed by Microsoft, right? So it utilizes, a lot of customers are going to have to decide on how they're going to do their identity. As a lot of our customers are doing, they're doing Azure AD as their identity management service. So we will manage the gateway, we will manage the load balancing. What the customer does is they will go and choose which operating system they're going to do, and most of the customers that are doing this will choose Windows 10 MultiSession. They choose the scalability they want for that session. They're going to say, well, my users, I've got about 250 users, and they're pretty heavy users. What we will do is we will go and estimate the type of hardware you're going to use that's going to host those VMs in Azure. We also have a tool that allows customers to calculate the cost of this before they deploy it, so that they're able to go in, punch in a bit of numbers, and they'll be able to understand what the costing is going to be like for them, right? So this is kind of it's kind of the best of both worlds, and this is kind of where we were. If you looked at back in the day, we had this RDS session host, right? It was Office Perpetual. It was kind of clunky.
Yeah.
But we move over to Windows 10 Enterprise, and we've got Office Pro Plus, semi-annual channel, Win32. But there's one difference with Windows 10. It was only single session, right? So enter multi-session. We get all that great experience that we have with Windows 10, but we get the multi-session capability, but we maintain Office 365 Pro Plus in the way that we actually manage, in the way that we do updates, right? So it's the same thing that our customers are used to. And then, like you alluded to before, is that we made a WWDD announcement that our App Store team will support multi-session as part of their remit to learn about that. Okay, so customers can go to the aka.ms App Store and they can find out how we'll actually support it.
Okay, so we're supporting that as well.
Yes, we are.
Crikey. Okay.
And the other thing is I talked about the licensing. Most customers are already, if they have one of these licenses, they're already eligible for it.
There's E3.
E3, Windows 10 Enterprise E3. On the server side of things, customers are eligible to access server workloads. All they need to have is an RDS account, which is part of software assurance, right? And the good thing is they only pay for the virtual machine storage and networking that's consumed, just like any other Azure service, right? And we have ways for them to save money, and there's a link at the bottom of these slides which we'll make available. So FSLogics is eligible to customers that have all three of those, but there's a couple of things that FSLogics does. First of all, the profile container. Do you remember the old roaming profiles back in the day? So this is a replacement for folder
scars. Yeah,
all got scars from that.
Yep,
so this is about launch times. It also includes an Office 365 container, which roams. So if I disconnect from my VM on my on my laptop, and then I come back to it later on, that's going to still be running, and it's going to attach quickly to a container running on a virtual disk that will be persisted as I move from different devices, right? And then the application masking is another big ask, and another good capability is that customers want to minimize the number of images they're going to actually use for WVD. So this allows you to minimize that by creating a single image for all the applications, right? So that we don't have to have no sequencing or any virtualization or AppV or any kind of stuff. And then we can run multiple versions of Java. FSLogics, same scenario. It's kind of fits into our licensing strategy. Same thing. Obviously, customers can take this away just as a reference. And then the partners. We're working with systems integrators. We're working with ISVs. And we're working with hardware partners as well. So there's a number of, obviously, the big ones that probably jump out at you are Citrix is one of our biggest partners.
Yeah, that's huge.
And Samsung is a big partner of ours. And essentially with the Samsung partnership, this is really what it looks like, Simon. So if you have a phone, which I think an Android phone, if you have a Samsung phone, I think it's an S9 or above, it has a technology built into it called DeX. That allows you to, when you connect it to a monitor, it fires up the DeX environment. And then what you can do from the DeX environment is you just run the remote desktop client from Android. You just download it from the store, and you connect to this full desktop, Windows 10 desktop.
Through your phone.
Through your phone. Where we actually saw this being something of interest is in manufacturing. I think in Australia, mining sites,
health, manufacturing, anywhere there's sort of mobile work.
Right now in health, obviously health is a big thing right now. Imagine a care worker walking up with their phone to a monitor sitting at a station. They just plug their phone into that USB. There's a keyboard and mouse. Bang! They have a full Windows desktop. Do what they need to do. Take the phone away. And away they go. So enough talk. Let's have a look at what it looks like, right? So as I said to you, PowerPoint presentation was running out of my desktop environment. So let's bring it over. right? You see the icon here, right? You see the little
Little
that's
hashtag on front.
out of WVD West Coast US, right? So what am I actually showing you here? So I'm going to start with the ways that you can actually get access to your applications. If you download the remote desktop web client, sorry, the remote desktop client, this is the desktop client that you can actually download. So you download the remote desktop client, and all I have to do, and because I'm part of this this particular demo environment, I've got access to all the applications that the team has made available to me. And essentially all I've done is I've subscribed to this. It's basically a subscription, right? And all I've done is I've subscribed to this particular tenant, all right?
Yeah.
And my feed URL contains this many apps. I can go and search it if I want to. So that's one way that I can get access to my applications, right?
Yeah.
The other way is I can go to a HTML5 client. So here's I'm in my web browser, right? So if I'm on my home PC, all I need to know is the URL to get to my applications.
You can just bookmark. It can be your start page.
You can bookmark it. Now, the other way to do it is you notice here on my start menu, when I've subscribed to that feed, it's automatically populated my start menu with my applications.
It's already added them there. So I don't even know if I need to go to the web page.
Now, I'm going to load up a particularly heavy application, Simon. Load up two heavy applications. First of all, Outlook. And you got to try not to blink because it's going to load pretty quick.
Okay. Watching.
Okay, that's loaded on my other monitor.
There it is. I saw it. Yeah. That's quick. That's quicker than I get on my desktop.
I mean, that icon there and that icon there. But it's my inbox. Go to the account settings. What you'll notice is that the team has actually deployed FSLogics profile containers in the back end, right? So what that means is that I can cache my Outlook OST file, all right? So I can go and use that if I want to. And the other one I can load up as well is Teams. Now, look, I'm going to start chatting to you, Simon, in the chat window. This is the virtual version of Teams. And
here we are.
We'll just go, hi, Simon. And it's picked up. You see, it's a full experience.
Yeah,
that's right.
There it is. Yeah.
So if we close that down, that'll persist across my other sessions. Now, the next thing I want to actually show you is we've got, let's open up, we've got Word running. Here's normal Word, right? Now let's load up the VDI version of Word.
There's no difference. You just can't see anything.
I'm going to copy this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to paste it down to my local machine. Full integration with our desktop. So we have a VDI version of Word running up on my WVD instance, but it's fully integrated into the host operating system's desktop. When I do a save as to this document, because I'm logged in as me, you notice it's picking up all my history, all my documents that I've opened, all the information that I've saving it to my OneDrive, all that business, right? So that's pretty easy. And then if I look at the full desktop, and I'm going to load up the full desktop, I could load that full desktop from my browser. I'm going to run it from here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's essentially I'm connecting to my desktop, which is on the west coast of the US. And what it's actually asking me for now is my PIN number, because you and I are using the camera to do this session.
Oh, wow. All right.
But it's making sure that I'm logging on in a secure way. So it's integrating into that Hello for Business and all this business. So now my desktop has come up. Let me just move it over to this screen. And we're logging on. Now keep in mind, we are logging onto a VM that is in the west coast of the US during a time of lots and more people working from home.
Yeah, lots of traffic.
Lots of traffic. Normally, you would have this VM sitting in a data center here in Australia, right? and then that would be your experience. But if you look at logon, that wasn't too bad, was it?
It's a good time. It's about what it takes me on my desktop every day.
Right. So I've now made it full screen, and I want you to look at a couple of things here on this full screen. You remember that Teams that I just had open?
Yeah.
Look to that chat. There's the hi Simon Jackson. Right. So it's picking up that.
The whole session.
My inbox is there. My inbox is on that. So this is a full virtual machine. Now, in this case, think about a BYOD user that doesn't have a PC that they can take home from. Think about a customer that might have a lot of desktops. Well, they can leverage where that the user has already at home, and all they have is the remote desktop application, which comes built into Windows, right? But the thing that I want you to show you here is a couple of things. If we go into settings and we go to system, go to about, you can see Windows 10 Enterprise for virtual desktops. Okay. Build 1909. Okay, so that's the build. That's the one that they're on at the moment. My company takes care of all that updating and doing all that. My OneDrive right now supports files on demand. You couldn't do that without the Office, the FSLogics containers. So we're able to actually cache that. We can also set up things like backing up your documents, your pictures, known folder move. Okay, so we can support all the scenarios that we would have on a normal desktop. But what I also wanted you to see is, you see this here? It's telling me which files are in the cloud, which files are in, and I can just, as a user, I can go here and go, well, I want this on this I want this on this device.
Yeah, always keep on this device. Yeah.
Look at that. It's just supporting it, and it's syncing all those files into that device, right? So it's the whole experience of having a like-for-like experience that you would have on a normal desktop, right? Now, what about if the user needs to move over to a phone? Now, as I said, I don't have the Samsung phone, but I can kind of give you a rough idea of what this actually looks like. And I'm just switching over to my iOS device. And on my iOS device, I've got a couple of different ways that I can access this. I'm currently using, this is my let me just switch over to the apps I wanted to show you. So I can get this from a browser on my iOS device, right? So I can go and access my full desktop if I wanted to. Same view
that's on your iOS device that you're looking at right now.
Correct.
Wow.
And I'm using Air Server to connect to my PC. And if I switch over and go to there's another application I've got on here, which is the RD client. Okay, so we have an RD client that you can connect to your PCs, or you can connect to your subscriptions. Now, if I go over to the PC, it'll show me any PCs that, full desktops that they've made available. But typically on a phone, all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run a single application. So for example, say for example, this was a field worker that was at a mining site or something like that. You would probably only need to make them available one application.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they need to do on their mobile device, right? And allows them to be productive on that. But they're doing it in a secure way because we're using the identity. As you saw when I did my VM, I had to put my PIN in, all that kind of stuff. So that's a kind of I guess you could say it's a whirlwind tour, Simon, of what WVD. It's an amazing technology. It's really cool technology. I've only really scratched the surface. I did forget to one thing. Sorry. Where do people go? We'll make this available to everybody after this. But where they can go is we have a link at the back of this where they can learn more and where they can go to start using the service. So there's a couple of links where they can go and grab.
I'll put that in the description, mate. So it's a URL.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much it.
I was thinking halfway through your presentation, I was trying to remember a quote which goes something along the lines of, technology well done is indistinguishable from magic. I'm sure someone can correct me on the actual full quote, but there's a quote that's very like that. And looking at the stuff as you were presenting it, particularly casting my mind back to when RDS first came out, and we thought that was pretty cool. What you can do now is extraordinary. You get a desktop on your phone, an app on your phone, and all this stuff, just and caching and session handling and the whole lot, and customers already have it.
That's right. That's right. And look, I think coming back to what we're talking about, the current situation we're all in, is that we can help customers securely help their users. This is just one option. There's obviously a number we're going to cover through the various videos that we're running, but this is just one option. If they want to go down this path, it'll give them an option to make a desktop available to the users. The user could have their own Macintosh, a MacBook or a
doesn't matter.
Just send them an URL and they can.
Like I said before, Linux is further down the path, but working on Mac now.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So any device is the idea, and give them secure access. All they have to have is an identity. That's the big thing, and we obviously know about that.
License and bada bing, bada boom. Set up in minutes.
Correct.
Don't blink and you miss it.
That's right. It doesn't take long to set it up, and pretty powerful technology. It's one of my favorites anyway.
Brilliant, Jeff. I can tell the passion that comes across, mate. You've always been a very deep expert in this, so we're very lucky to have you on our team. Thank you very much, Jeff. Really appreciate your time today. Great demo, lots of information. I'll put the links that Jeff has mentioned in the show notes here. Please reach out to us, and contact details. Please reach out to us if you need any more information. Jeff Alexander, thank you so much once again. Great presentation,
Thanks, mate. Enjoyed it.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.